Right guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Division 2 video. It's been a while since I've uploaded a few Division 2 videos, but I'm going to start doing it more often now. It is my main focus now. I've finished with the Final Fantasy Rebirth. And yeah, I've got a load of build videos planned of builds that I'm using in-game. Now, I know some of the builds that I'm going to be putting up on the channel are already out there on YouTube, but I do get a lot of messages asking me from the live streams and from over the videos, what do you use in this situation, for instance? So there are people that are interested in what I use, and today's video is going to be the build that I probably use in PvP only, conflict mainly, I'll be honest, but honestly it's such a vibe, it's such a great build to use. And if I don't know what to call it, you'll know by the title of the video. I don't know if to go with the St. Elmo's Killer or a PvP Ninja, because it's a bit of both. If you're worried about people running status effects builds like the shock ammo with the St. Elmo's or even bleed hives, this will nullify any damage that they can obviously inflict on you. But also, they're not going to see you coming because you're going to be running basically 100% pulse resistance. So I'm going to show you a bit of gameplay as I'm obviously showing you the build, just to give you an idea of how it works. So firstly, we're using the flamethrower specialization. Reason being, especially for conflict and PvP in general, if I just show you, what I really like about it is this. So your armor kits recover 200% armor and health over 10 seconds. So what I like to do in this situation is I like to pop a med kit before I even get into a fight. That way I'm always receiving armor as I'm fighting, just a bit of armor regen. It doesn't half help out with fights, especially when you're coming up against people with an all red build that can usually burn you in one clip. This helps with that. So that is the only reason that I'm running this specialization. If for some reason you prefer a different specialization, then go for it. But I think this extracellular matrix mesh talent is OP for PvP. Right, now let's get into the build. So I am running the Ouroboros Shock Horror. It's either the Ouroboros or the St. Elmo's usually, but we're going to be taking advantage of Rule Them All. When the agent has a status effect applied to them, 50% of the ammo in the next magazine will apply the same status effect to their target. Now, as I said to you before, this particular build has resistance to every type of status effect damage. So you'll probably be able to, for those with the keen eye, will be able to tell how. So if I just go over to stats to show you what I mean, I know I usually show stats at the end, but I'm still rocking 90,000% weapon damage, 57 crit chance, and 142% crit damage. But let's go down onto the next page, and this is where it gets really interesting. As you can see, I have got 100% resistance to every single status effect, and it would be 100% on the pulse resistance, but I can't find another 10% pulse resistance mod. So you'll have to deal with a 9.9. I know it's my OCD's gone into overdrive, but as you can see from this build, we're not going to receive any damage from bleed hives. We're not going to be showing up on anyone's pulse if they're using pulse in conflict, because obviously a lot of people do. So this means you're going to be able to get in and behind the enemies without them even knowing you're there. Okay? And again, the St. Elmo's Killer, you've got 100% resistance to shock. It's unbelievable. So let's get into the breakdown of the build. So obviously I've showed you the Ouroboros. I've gone with a Dark Winter just because the whole build's going to be based about being up close and personal. So there's no room for an AR, if I'm being honest. If you really wanted to, you could put a shotgun. I'm not really a shotgun player. My accuracy with them isn't great. So I've just gone with a Dark Winter just to basically coincide with the Ouroboros and the build. So we are running a Yaahl Cascade Mask replica. I had to craft this to get what I wanted. But as you can see, we've got armor, hazard protection, and crit hit damage. Another key reason why I'm running the Auro is because we're going to be using a lot of crit damage rather than crit chance, because we're sacrificing the crit chance for hazard protection. So obviously the SMGs come with a boatload of crit chance, so that's why this is perfect. I don't think it quite work with an assault rifle, unfortunately. But as you can see, as I say, we've got armor, hazard protection, crit hit damage, and that 9.9% pulse resistance mod. Then move on to the chest piece. This was another piece that was so hard to get. Obviously, Yaahl's not the easiest to get hold of, especially with what you want on it. As you can see, I've re-rolled all 3 of my abilities on this. But on this one, we've got max armor, hazard protection, crit hit chance, and a crit hit damage mod. And then because we're running the Ninja Bike Messenger backpack, that means this 2-piece turns into a 3-piece. So we've got 10% hazard protection, 5% weapon damage, and 40% pulse resistance from having the 3-piece Yaahl gear. Moving on to the holster, we've got the Cavalier holster. Obviously, because of the Ninja bag, 2 pieces counts for 30% hazard protection, and on that, armor, critical hit damage. Moving over to the knee pads, we're getting that 10% SMG damage with the Sokolov concern. And then obviously, again, because with the Ninja, we get the 15 critical hit damage from the brand set. Weapon damage, again, hazard protection and crit hit damage. And finally, with the gloves, we're running the Seska gloves again because we're obviously sacrificing a lot of the critical hit damage with this, with the attributes. So we get the crit hit chance, but also ultimately it is for the 10% hazard protection. Then we've got obviously max weapon damage, crit hit damage, and hazard protection on that. And just in case we don't know what the Ninja Bike Messenger backpack does, we get a weapon damage, we get armor, we get crit hit damage. And obviously the talent means resourceful, slots in with any equipped gear set or brand set item to fulfill a requirement towards unlocking the gear set bonus. Can unlock bonuses from multiple gear sets simultaneously. So that's the build. And as I say, for the stats, they're still pretty good. We've still got 90k weapon damage. We've got 57% crit hit chance, even though we sacrificed it a lot for the hazard protection. So it just goes to show you can still get your crit hit chance and build into obviously other attributes just as long as you take care of the finer details. And 142% crit hit damage for an SMG build isn't too shabby at all. And again, just a second look at the stats. So what this obviously nullifies, as I say, is any pulses, anyone using the St. Elmo's, anybody using a bleed hive, anything like that. You obviously take the initial damage from like seeker mines and stuff, but you're not going to get bled. And the beauty of it is, along with not taking damage, is that you're not going to get forced into hip fire. You're going to be able to keep on aiming down sights and causing a lot of damage with the Ouroboros. So obviously, even though you've got 100% resistance to all these things, you are still... So for instance, if somebody uses a bleed hive on you, you're not taking damage, but you'll still have the bleed effect on you, which then, with the Ouroboros, means that you're going to bleed the opponent with your next magazine. So honestly, this build is such a vibe, as I said at the beginning. Let's check out some footage now. I will just break it down into the fights so you can see it in action. But yeah, that is it for the build video. If you run something like this, let me know down in the comments if you've got anything different to mind. Let me know if my build has maybe helped you with one of your builds, but something you didn't think about. But yeah, I'm having such a vibe with this. We're going to leave it with some footage, as I say. But yeah, if you did like today's video, don't forget to hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you're new. And yeah, that's the video.
detected.
The enemy can't keep up. They're about to get booed up. Nobody's pulling out. The fight goes on. The rogues have run out of reinforcements.
Hostile Stinger Hive detected. Boost about to activate. Boost now active.
You're almost out of time.
The enemy is acquiring the boost. The boost has been taken by the enemy. An agent needs assistance.